The Magnificent Battle, Merlin, Arthur's Court, and the Mistress of Time, by the Magus, read by the Magus. Chapter 22, A Timely Fight. "Ouch!" Krista yelled at the knight, who yanked her off the ground and sat her on his horse's neck, holding her with one metallic arm to keep her from either falling or fleeing his grasp. "Put me down at once!" she shouted, but of course with no effect. Krista pounded angrily on his armored breastplate. The knight simply laughed his coarse, crude chuckle. Krista struggled as mightily as she could, but the knight was strong and invincible in his armor, while she bounced unsteadily on the neck of his warhorse. Looking beside her, she saw the only consolation available, and that was that Ashur was being carried on a nearby horse by another knight. They must be going to the same place, the castle, wherever that was. Realizing that the time for escape had not come, she calmed herself and tried to think of anything she could do to gain her freedom. There seemed to be no options available except to wait. She would wait, but she wouldn't like it. Ashur, on the other hand, had first-hand experience of what it is like to fall off of a horse. She had done so on a galloping horse when she was younger, when a strap broke, releasing the saddle. Miraculously, she hadn't been hurt, but she got a good enough scare that she didn't want to do it again. She didn't like where she was going, but she didn't like the thought of falling off either, so she held on, knowing that Krista was going to the same place she was, and they could plan some kind of escape there. She tried to prepare herself for whatever was coming, but with each gallop of the horse, the foul smell of the night would issue from the openings in the armor. Clearly, he had been in that armor on too many hot and sweaty days. "Oh my gosh," she thought. "Have these people never thought of deodorant?" Well, probably not. We seem to be in a time before deodorant. I wonder if everybody smells this bad. She would find out later that most of them did. But for the time being, it was an unpleasant revelation. The knights rode along together. There were 8 of them. The 2 who carried Ashur and Krista were second in a column that rode 2 abreast. Ashur looked around. The knights were all in full armor, that is, covered from head to toe in metal with visors open for air. She could see the dirty bearded face of the one who carried her. Even at a gallop, she could see dried food stuck in the beard, and when he smiled, his gums showed that his teeth had left in despair long ago. The armor was covered with a kind of tunic, apparently made from some kind of rough brown cloth. 5 of them held lances. All of them had swords. They rode quickly along what looked like a road for wagons, unpaved, with ruts on either side of a grassy mound. They must have ridden about a mile when they came to a stream. The knights rode their horses into the water and let them drink. As they drank, the men talked. "By my troth," said the tall one, "the lady will make a great joy for these 2 treasures we have found in the wood." "Aye, if the lady wist how to make great joy, that is, if she knows how," replied another. "These 2 can be traded off in marriage to make great alliances, or in trade for land," said yet another. "I will well they be fair maidens, and worth many a horse and rider," said another. "Or several fair fields of oats," said yet another. "I would liefer," that is, rather, "keep one for my own wife and lady," said one. "I ween that if ye do try to keep one, the lady will abuse ye such that no leech could have no remedy. That is, if you try, the boss will kill you." "Dismay you not," said the first. "The stars must needs cross afore a ruffian such as ye are should possess so fair a maiden. That is, forget it, Claude." Those were not kind things to say. "By my body, I am wroth at thy words. That is, that makes me mad." "I am an honorable knight," came the reply of the insulted knight. "Do you wish to assay me to know if the words are true? That is, do you want to fight?" answered the knight. Ashur was close enough to whisper to Krista, "Do you know what they're talking about?" "No, I can't exactly understand them, but from the tone of their voice, I think they're getting ready to fight." It was only moments before the knights were yelling at each other. "Thou art a dishonorable knight," yelled the one. "By my head, I shall assay it on your body." The knight holding Krista transferred her to another knight's horse, then pulled out his sword. "Prepare ye, ruffian!" he yelled. The other knight pulled out his sword as the others moved out of harm's way. The two began flailing at each other with their swords. Things were about to get really bad when one of the other knights began yelling, "Desist, knaves, and see the peril that descends upon us!" He pointed back down the road from which they had come. There were more knights riding quickly toward them. "Knights of the Round Table!" yelled one. The group turned to prepare to battle the approaching knights. Unable to fight with a hostage in the way, the knight who was holding Ashur put her down. "Stay here," he commanded. "We will return for you." "Right," Ashur said with that thick, oily sarcasm that she had practiced throughout adolescence. The other knight put Krista down on the ground as well and turned to fight. The two girls looked at each other, then at the knights who were advancing to fight the approaching group. "Now!" Krista half yelled at Ashur. The two girls ran as fast as they could into the woods. They ran and ran, tripping and falling, but continuing their flight. At first they could hear the sounds of metal on metal and men cursing and horses in combat. Eventually the sounds grew quiet. They ran to where they could not hear them any more. "Do you think we're safe now?" asked Krista. "Are we ever safe anywhere in this crazy place?" asked Ashur. "Well, at least we were out of the hands of those horrible men. I couldn't understand much that they said, but it seemed that they wanted to marry us. I'd rather be lost in the woods and pursued by wild animals than marry one of those nasty-smelling oafs," said Ashur. Little did she know that her wish just might come true.